Hi, it's Gadget UK here again. A bit of a bits and pieces video this. You can see I've got an A2000 on the bench here at the moment. Yeah, I've got many things on the go here, many things waiting for parts. Some of it is due to Royal Mail deliveries, some of it is problems getting things in and out from China and stuff. It's just like delays seemingly everywhere on all sorts of different things that I'm waiting on. But now I'm on leave, there should be some more videos over the next few weeks. So the next thing I want to do here is replace this socket. I don't know, you can see we've got like a green pin there, a bit of a greeny grey pin there, one or two actually. I'm going to swap it with a turn pin socket. It's just going to make it really easy to test things like this. And the FPGA set as well, because they've all got round pins there, you know, turned pins. So there'll be a link above on top right to repair of this. You can see it was fixed in 2018. Good God, how time flies. That's like over 4 years ago. Yeah, I'm just going to use the desolder pump here. I've got a desolder station which you could use. You can see how green that pin is there. Can you see it? Yeah, I've got a desolder station, but yeah, I just want to go over this this way because it makes a lot of noise and my wife's working at the moment. So yeah, I have to keep the volume down as she's on and off calls a lot. Hang on a minute. Temperature set too low. This pump, I think, came from Andrew Littleboy, didn't it? Yeah, that's I think the ground or something there. Could be VCC or VDD, because this has a few supply rails. We'll revisit that one in a minute. Anyway, let's just get this off. It looks like it's been reflowed actually. It may have been reflowed by me in the past, I don't know. Could have been a previous owner. I'm pretty sure I didn't swap the socket when I did the repair of this. The issue with this was a problem with the PLA actually, and as I say, the link will be top right for that. So one of the problems I always have with this desolder pump is when you change the silicon bit at the end, you've got to cut it the right length. If you have it just marginally too long, you find that you can't unblock it. You know, the solder goes right up there. You can see it's like 3/4 full there now. So by the time you've done one or two more pins, it fills up to the point where the solder does, you know, fills the whole thing but doesn't protrude from the end. Can't even melt the solder, look. There we go. Yeah, so when you get a ground point like that, use a bigger tip at higher temperature or leave it longer, because this whole area here will be heating up. There you go, unblocked it. So that's that bit done. The next thing is to just have a gentle pivot here and inspect with magnification. They're pretty loose though, those. I think that's going to come off really easy. You know, you can feel them wiggle, you feel them move. So yeah, I'm still not sure about this pin here. No, it's loose. So if we just flip this over, you can see the socket there. Look, it's off. There we go, it's off. So there's a bit of corrosion under there, so consider this as an extension of the original repair. We'll clean that, but yeah, this socket here, what I'll do is I'll pull these pins out, I'll clean them up and widen them if they need it, and then ultrasonic it probably, put it in my collection. It's a dual wipe socket, so technically there's no point in putting that in the bin. You could always just replace the pins. I've got loads of new pins. I might just see if they're the same style as the pins I've got and just swap those corroded pins. So the next thing I need to do is separate these turn pin sockets from each other here. You can see stacking them in a drawer like this is the best way to store these. Stops the pins getting bent, and it's easy for you to count exactly how many you've got, and it's easy for them to fit into a tray with lots of the sockets. And we'll clean up there first. So is that just a bit of fluff? Yeah, it's just a little bit of fluff. Surprising actually, this board is a little bit dirty, but then again maybe not so surprising because it's just been sat leaned up against the corner there with a load of other C64 boards, some of which will come on the channel soon. Should be lots of repairs. Anyway, that's looking a lot cleaner. Just for good measure, I'm just going to use the wire brush here actually. Could use a fiberglass pen, but yeah, I found it's a good use for a wire brush, just to get a little bit of a clean onto the surface of those. Certainly that one there and there. and we'll get that on. There we go. So yeah, it's going to be tight with these caps here, isn't it? This is always the problem with these. These caps get in the blooming way. I'm trying to move it down just so it's away from the edge where the chip would be there. So flattening those down that way seems to be the way to go. It's pretty flush there now. And having flipped that over, we'll just solder a couple of diagonal opposites. I was touching that pin there, sticking out a bit. And just make sure it's flat. Wasn't flat there. Now it is. Let's just do that one again. And then just inspect to make sure it is flat and flush, and it is. There we go. So I'll just inspect for any bridges and things, and then we'll get some IPA there, clean that up. But yeah, I think that'll be alright once it's cleaned. Socket is on there. So if you've watched loads of my videos, I apologise for going over the same things time and time again in every video. As you can see here, I'm just cleaning the cotton bud and some IPA, and then we'll brush it down. And then I finally give it a brush with the dry brush. And there you go. You can see the solder points there aren't bad at all. I'll just wipe down here actually, because the overhang, some of the IPA just leaks on the underside there, or onto the edge, but yeah, it's looking pretty clean, I think. Just for good measure, I think we'll clean the tops of these. It's been sat around, as I say, for, well, 4 years, more or less. So we'll now just push those offending pins out, I think, and we can work out which one it is. It's that one there. And either replace or clean up. We can, oh yeah, see that leg's just bent. It might be quite hard to get out. No, it's coming out. And it's bending at the same time, I think. Yeah, you can see that, because it's green. Absolutely green. So yeah, I think we'll just replace these pins rather than clean them up. There's a few actually, there's 3 or 4. There's this one over here, I think it's the 4th one down. So we'll do the same thing, just grab it really near to where it's protruding and then push straight. You can see it come out a little bit there, and again. So every pin's come out there. As I say, I'm going to ultrasonic it. You can see little bits of solder on the underside that have come off the legs and things. So yeah, give that a bit of a scrub, clean that up, put it in the ultrasonic. And then I've got all the pins that were non-corroded, which I will inspect. But yeah, as you typically get with these, you get a gap. You know, it's a turn pin pushed into it, so there's a gap between the edge and the springy bit. So yeah, I've shown this before. Just push a little tool like this through. Push it so far, and it springs it back out, and you pull it back off, and then they bang right up against each other. So when you put it back in the socket, you get a really nice tight firm fit, like a brand new socket. Here's a good example where it's had a turn pin in. So the round bit, you know, the lump bit there, if you look at the gap between the flat piece at the bottom, you see there's a little gap, a fractional gap. There shouldn't be. Again, I've shown this before in a recent video, but you just push in like that, pull out, and if we inspect it now, see that? Totally flat. So yeah, not good use of my time. About an hour later, you can see which pins are replaced. They sink, you know, they're sunk down a little bit. They're from a different style of socket, but they're all totally clean, and a chip will grip really well in there. The one thing I will say is the original pins are much thicker and more, you know, stiffer. They've got a good amount of stability on them compared to the replacement ones. Those replacement ones, you can push them in and out really easy. But obviously, once that's soldered on a board, that won't have any effect at all. It'll be good enough to reuse. So I'll put that in my collection of spares. So at this point in the video, I'm fixing one of the PLAs I bought here. Brad, who's also known as Plan C on YouTube, his channel will be linked down below, he was kind enough to send me a couple of gals actually that had different timings on them. He thought I might need to use them, you know, because of the difference in timing. So despite the fact only one of them is getting hot, I removed both. The reason I use hot air is just to avoid affecting the strips of pin header there. And you can see it's come off, but it was a bit of a wrestle, if I'm honest. I did not enjoy that at all. Let's just get a little bit of solder and flux onto each one of these. And just make it a bit easier when it's got a bit of flux there. So as I say, Brad to the rescue. The timing on these is slightly different, so I'm not sure if they're faster or slower, but the reason he sent me these was for that very reason. I think they might be probing with different code or something, I don't know, it could just be the speed of the chips. So this one's the left one, yeah, it's got an L on there, so let's just get that out and we will install that. So hopefully we'll have some functionality here. You know, it will work. Yeah, you can see it's seesawing, yeah, because someone didn't trim those pins down there. That explains why it was a bit crooked. So I'll just try and hold it and anchor one pin if I can. Yeah, there we go. So you can see it's flat on top there. It's flat pretty much on top there, which means there's a little bit protruding on each pin here. So, wrist strap on again. Let's test our repaired PLA with Brad's gals there. Hope this works. Yeah, so I think both those other chips are going to be completely dead. Ah, that doesn't work. Stone cold. Let's just try and refit it again. Yeah. Doesn't work on this board. It might work in the other board. Take two. You were probably screaming at the camera. This is the working one. There's a trace that goes straight down between those two chips. That was blown apart by the problem. So yeah, fix that trace and power it on. Woohoo! It works. Now the question here, and this is what I was curious about, the difference in timing on the gals here. Is it going to get any further with the RAM test here? Or will we still see, RAM test 2 mark RAM test 1 as bad? We do. So it doesn't really seem to be timing related to the PLA, does it? It does look like we've got a fault somewhere. Now it may be related to the video corruption. I'm wondering if RAM test 2 is where it points the VIC at some RAM and does something with the RAM and that bit's failing perhaps. But I think it's a bug in terms of when it fails RAM test 2 it updates RAM test 1 to say it's bad, because it had already put OK on that. I used a piece of coil wire across there to fix that trace. Yeah, there's that trace that burned up when the 12 volts was fed into one of the pins on here. So obviously while I'm working on this I'm doing other things at the same time. So I've got a chip here that came from the amazing Barry, Sparks UK. I think I can't get it out. So he cleverly bent the little cutout there over, but you can see I've got the wrist strap on here, and we've got a 6510. He was good enough to sell me this pretty cheap. It's got short pins, but yeah, it'll be fine with a ZIF socket. So if you saw the video for this, the link up the top right, you'll know that I can just lift that lever, put that chip on top of the metal can over there just for now, and we'll get this 6510 in, and let's give it a try. Switch it on, let's check the voltages, make sure it's not getting hot. Woohoo! There we go. So we've got a functioning 6510. Very pleased. I'll keep that one in there, I think, because it's got short legs. It kind of lends itself to a ZIF socket. It's better to be in a ZIF socket. And what I mean is, if you look at the one I removed, look at the legs on that. They're good as new. That's been in a socket all its life, that one. It's never had them trimmed down. And that's often what you find when they're soldered onto a board. The Commodore did tend to cut the legs really super short. So then, of course, when you reclaim it, you know, you can have problems putting it back into a socket on the board. That's one reason I use turn pin, but a ZIF socket won't be an issue with that. So yeah, I'll put that into my spares. Technically, I might need one of those actually to backfill one of the other boards I've got here. I'll just have a quick look. Yeah, if I just bring this board into shot, you'll see this one has got a number of things missing from it. So I've taken lots of chips off this. I've been testing various other things, but let's just get this one in there. It makes sense to leave a CPU on it, and then later I can perhaps try and acquire some of the other chips. Now I've got some of the chips that were kindly sent to me by Timo Momo. There'll be a separate video on that, so I can get one of those VICs in there, I can get an original SID in there. I've got some PLAs on the way. I've had a very kind offer for some donations of PLAs from the chap that actually creates them and builds them. It might be the person who originally created the PCB. I'll yeah, more on that later. So yeah, I think probably I just need to source a CAA. I think I've used the ones Timo sent me already for these boards you've seen within this series here, but yeah, very cool. That one's not far off being complete when the other bits arrive. Incidentally, I do notice things. What I mean is, if you saw the build of this ZIF64 boards, remember this was bent in. Yeah, it was bent inwards down towards the socket here, and I just straightened up, took it back off, straightened up, put it back on. So yeah, I do notice all these things that you may pick up on that I didn't notice at the time. Yeah, just push that lever down, it's going to stick out otherwise, isn't it? But yeah, I have ESD bags for all of these now, so yeah, I can go back into the box. Right, so I cleaned the legs with some braid there, you know, got rid of the solder off the tips, and then just giving them a clean. I'm just going to go check that C64C board I repaired a while back that's got a socket on it. I can't remember whether it's the one that's got the separate SRAM, which this is, or whether it's the one that's got the merged. I don't know, these are so bulletproof, I'm not even sure if the RAM ever blooming fails in these. Has anyone ever come across one of these? Post in the comments below. Have you ever had one of these? The one with the merged colour RAM that's failed on a colour RAM? Because I haven't seen one yet. And I haven't actually seen one of these PLAs fail yet. I'm sure they do. If you've got like an low voltage situation it would die. But through just general use, wear and tear, they don't seem to fail. They seem blooming bulletproof. Sharp seem to produce some pretty reliable silicon. So over to my C64 on the desk here, the bench. Yeah, so this is mine. It's the one with a little split there. I covered this in a number of different videos. It's got a dual SID in there. It's had case repair using the Haybert's mounts and things. I'll stick a link up top right to that. And I'm going to swap the power switch, but we'll obviously then test this. And a previous repair, I'll show you the board for that in a minute. We're going to put the switch from this onto that. The reason I'm doing this way round is because the switch on this one's alright, but it's an old one. It's had lots of use, and I've got a brand new one. So I'm going to put a brand new one on mine. Incidentally, a good friend and patron, Timo Momo, has just got 300 of these. So yeah, watch eBay and various other places. They will become available for sale. I have asked if I can buy, I don't know, a good 6 or so, maybe even 10, I don't know, because they're always useful to have in stock. Anyway, we'll get the lid off. Well, the super annoying thing is after this move into this new environment here, my clear-handled screwdriver with a flat blade just seems to have dematerialised. I just can't find it anywhere. It's the only thing I can't find. Don't know where it is. Anyway, let's get these screws out here. I mean, it is a Phillips, but it's just that screwdriver works really well with these screws. Yeah, I'm sure it will turn up. Probably in a totally unexpected place. So it's kind of clipped on the back, isn't it? This has got these replacement clips, so this is where I need to be careful as I unclip this. There we go. There we are. Yeah, you can see what I mean here. It's these clips. These were replaced using the Haybert ones that are epoxied on the inside there. So I don't want to take any chances with static electricity. Let's disconnect the keyboard. Out of the way. So pointing out the obvious things here, this has been obviously recapped, fully cleaned up. We've got a dual SID here, and we've got original PLA, heatsink and fan on the VIC. This makes a huge difference, keeps it nice and cool, and heatsinks on everything else there. I don't think there's anything else special about this other than it's my main working C64. So let's just carefully get these screws out here. And just be careful, you know, don't over screw these back in afterwards, because you will just break the, you know, the threads there. Yeah, do make sure you've got all the screws in. That's it. So I'll just carefully see if we can just get these screws out of there. So I'll switch the Heiko on. And we just need to just flip this over and carefully desolder the power switch here. So just get my solder sucker. The camera's kind of in front of me here. For things like this, it's easier to work this way, where I'm facing the same way with the camera in between. I think what I'm going to do is just get, so I've got the wrist strap on by the way, a piece of paper towel down here, just to eject the little solder plugs onto. There we go. It just makes keeping this area a bit tidier. I am still getting used to working in this space here. Just looking at that, what's that? Oh, it's just a little wire. Anyway, let's just keep working on this. I think those have been resoldered previously by me, maybe. I don't know, it could be factory. Those two look like factory points actually, so maybe it's never been reflowed. I think at this stage actually we'll just remove that plate. So let me just flip this over. So let's just undo that one. That's that one out. And there's one here. And it just makes it a little bit easier because obviously it's going to hold that switch in place whilst that's fitted. So that should now just come off, I think. There we go. Just put that out of the way. Just carefully flip it over and remove the screws. So again, this is where maybe adding a bit of additional solder may help. I might try that in a minute. In fact, let's do that now, because it's not going to flow without a little bit of flux. I honestly didn't think I would struggle with that, but yeah, clearly we are doing. I glued those in the previous video actually, so hopefully that will stay stuck on. So that's set to 400, just wait for that to heat up. And because I've got a power monitor in here and I'm checking it regularly, because I don't want to go anywhere near to 13 amps, I'm on one single set of sockets here effectively. The ZD915 and the Heiko, both powered on at the moment, just under an amp. So this may not be quite up to temperature. Let's just see, the tip is, so let's just get some solder around that. It's got quite a small tip as well, so we might need to use the Heiko at the same time here. It's not going to go over the pin. Yeah, that's got rid of lots of it, but not all of it, so I think what I'll do is just bring the Heiko into shot. Use two irons if one isn't working for you. Can't see whether that's free or not. Yeah, the lighting will get better in an upcoming video because I've got some studio lights, which is not something I ever thought I'd hear myself saying, but I've had to order studio lights because this environment here where I'm working now is so dark compared to the well-lit room earlier videos were filmed in. Yeah, that did the job there. Let's just give this side here another go. That sounding blocked to me. Didn't take long, did it? I unblocked this yesterday, and here we are with some sort of blockage already. There it was. So I'll just use the pliers here just to gently have a little bit of a pivot. If you're too forceful with this and there's still too much solder there, you will just break the through holes and things and break the pads probably. These are the ones that are going to be a blooming pain. You can use one to try and pivot the other a little bit. But yeah, I don't think that's free. What I may need to do is heat and pull. See if I can get it off that way. Let's just put it side on like that. That does not want to come off. Let's just try and give these another go. Yeah, those look a lot better. So I'll just revisit those again with the flats, you know, the nice smooth edge here, pliers like this. yeah, those pins are all free, and they look free on both sides. These two though, no, it's moving now, look. So let's just see now, is that going to come off? There we go. So no pads, no through hole, that came off okay. So as I say, the switch works alright, but I'll clean it up. It's a bit flaky, look. It doesn't really do a definitive click. This one has a big snap. So yeah, you could argue this one perhaps needs taking to pieces and maybe having the thing retensioned in it. Might do that. Now somebody kindly mentioned in the previous video as well that these switches, they're all different colours. Yeah, you get black ones like that one, red ones and blue ones, and they all have a different amperage rating on there. Yeah, this one says 3 amp at 250 volts AC, so it's going to be fine. But anyway, someone pointed that out. I think the last one I fitted was a black one, and it came from a C64C, and that might have a slightly lower current rating on it. Yeah, I'm not sure if you could see that. Not sure if you could see that for the wrist strap there, but I'm just having a bit of a clean around this area because it's probably never had a clean just down there. It's always quite challenging to clean that area where the switch is. You could use a toothbrush. Anyway, it's looking pretty clean now, I think. So one final focus around there. It's surprisingly dirty, that actually. A bit of something there, look. I will always use the fiberglass pen on them as well, and I'll just have another white with some IPA, just because you get a much cleaner solder point when those are super shiny like that. You could argue clean those up as well, because you're going to have the same issue there. A bit of oxidization means you don't get quite as clean solder point. Right, that'll do. So let's get our new switch into position, and there we go, straight on. So I'll just flip this over. Yeah, zoom back a little bit there. I'm not sure if I was a bit too close, and I think we'll use the desolder pump or desolder station rather, just to solder these tabs. Copious amounts of solder. As soon as we get a little bit there we go, we've got a bit on that side. I can then just eye it up, make sure it's straight, and it is. And we'll do this one. The temperature on this thing has increased, you know, after it's been on for a bit. Now it's melting that solder really, really easily compared to when I was trying to remove it earlier. So, I mean, that's a tip for you for using the ZD915 or the Duo tool that it's based on. Just give it a little bit longer before you start to use it. Even though it says it's at temperature, don't believe it. You'll gain by just leaving it for 10 minutes without using it. And we'll finish up by just soldering the solder points here. So I want quite a lot of solder because obviously it'll flow through onto the other side. And leave it a time like that to just flow through a little bit. Do that with each one. This is a good use for where you've got, you know, I don't know, a chunky roll of solder, and I've got one here. I should be using that because this is really fine. It's like 0.7 or something. When you're dealing with big connectors and things like that, maybe use your old, maybe use your reel where you've got really thick stuff where you're like, well, I wouldn't be able to use that for typical repair jobs because it's so thick. Right, let's just have a flip over. You can see that side, it doesn't look too bad actually, so I think that's fine. And it looks straight. Alright, let's just give that a bit of a toothbrush here. And then we'll do the Knowles Retro Lab special here just to avoid actually getting streaks and things on it. And clean the toothbrush at the same time as well. So anyway, that is, I think, looking pretty tidy. There we go. So let's just get it back into the base. Yeah, and I did lose the screw when I was disassembling it there. It took me blooming ages to find it. It was on the floor here, so yeah, final screw going in down there. That's it, the back is clipped in. So let's get it over to the monitor. And there we go, connected up to the 1084. So that fan, yeah, it sounds a bit tractorish, doesn't it? It does sound like that when it first starts up, but then it goes quieter and quieter and quieter. Look, it doesn't look amazing on that 1084. I'm kicking myself, I haven't been using this more in the past. It's amazing, the video. So I'll switch it off. Now let's get the Kung Fu flash into the back here. I really need a shell, don't I? I like that sound. I think this is the first time I've used this on this C64 actually. Switch it on. Ah, there we go. Last Ninja was obviously the last game I played on here. So we'll start Last Ninja. As you can see, that is working perfectly. So I'm just going to test the dual SID stuff off camera here to make sure that's still working. There'll be a video top right for that. And we'll be revisiting the SID stuff in some upcoming videos as well actually. But yeah, I think the next thing you'll see me do is put that switch onto the board we repaired in a previous video. Yeah, the dual SID stuff is working perfectly. Sounds fantastic for that monitor. I love it. You've got to shoot twice, haven't you? Now this is the fixed version, because apparently the original C64 version of this was incomplete, you know, you couldn't complete it. So yeah, the cart version, by Nostalgia I think it is fixed. I'm not sure if I'm hitting anybody here. Yeah, I am. Obviously when you hit the hostage, your own health goes down. Oh, so hard. I think you get like one life as well, that's it. So yeah, that wasn't a success on its joystick. Anyway, right, so here's that other board we fixed in, let's get the wrist up on, a previous video. Just get the USB back. So yeah, if you saw that video, again there'll be a link top right, you can see we just bridged the solder points here. I think the pads were a bit, no they're alright, I was going to say they're a bit balks, maybe one's missing there, look. Yeah, I think it is, because I can move it. So yeah, first thing obviously we need to do here is just desolder the blobs that we fitted there. But what I think we should do is just put this board out of the way a minute. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can see, but there's little clips there and there. It's a bit green here towards the top there as well. There's a bit of corrosion. Oh, hang on, maybe that's some sort of conformal coating. Anyway, let's just see if I can get inside this. I know what's going to happen here now. This is going to break, isn't it? And I'm going to need to buy another switch. Anyway, at least as I say, Timo Momo is hopefully going to be able to provide some of these. So I'm just going to lift upwards a little bit, there like that. I'm zoomed you out here because I'm not even sure you can see what I'm doing. I've levered one side up and then the other side comes down. The contacts come out there, look. So yeah, it's I've definitely got to proceed and keep going the way I am trying to here. I just need to lift this side up a little bit, like that. There we go. That's it. And carefully pull the top off. Oh. Right, so the first thing I would do here, once you've got to that point, yeah, we can clean those plates up, is put it on a flat surface. And I'm not sure if you can you see like these are bent outwards like that? Yeah, we need to bend them inwards like that so that when it goes back on, it'll grip. really well, so just push that down a bit. Turn to that side, push that one down a bit. That's it, they're almost just inwards a tiny fraction. So when we come to get that back on, these edge pieces here, they're not bent upwards. Obviously that plastic thing in the middle, that's the actuator. So I need to get that the right way around. So here, we need to straighten that pin out there because I bent the blooming thing. Repair, I don't think so. Oh, hang on, the contacts fell out now. So, let's clean these contacts up. First of all, I'm just going to clean them with a bit of IPA, and then we'll just see whether we need to use the fiberglass pen. Some deoxit may be a less destructive way of cleaning these. Because the thing is, you know, I see people just going straight in with a fiberglass pen or something like this, or a wire brush, etc. But the gold plated. The gold plating may have worn off though, so anyway, cleaning that with IPA. So that's that. Let's now try and have a wee clean in there. I will get some, there's a bit of plastic there, a little bit of deoxit in there as well, I think. Yeah, you can see it's pretty dirty, that cotton bud. Yeah, they look pretty pristine to me. But we will just get a bit of deoxit. If there's any left, yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, there we go. So, very clean in there. So we need to get these back in, and then somehow I need to get this back on, and that be the right way around. Yeah, just inspecting that with magnification, I can see, I think, the way that works. It needs this piece rotating like that, and I think it goes sideways. And as you switch it, hang on, if I just hold it like that, as I switch, can you see that thing moves across and rocks the two contacts across the centerpiece? So they're going to go like that, they're going to seesaw. Yeah, so that's it, that's those both back in, and the centerpiece is going to slide like that and go from one side to the other. So I mean, you might want to bend them further, I don't know. It really is about this wear of this plastic here as well. What I don't know is how do you get that to guarantee that it's going to be in the right place. I'm not really sure what holds that. This is going to be the fiddly bit now, trying to put this back together in such a way that that piece of plastic is in the right place. I'm not even sure if something broke off that. Oh, this is going to be really fiddly. Right, getting nowhere blooming fast with this. I'm fed up with this thing falling. You know, the thing's falling out here. Let's get those back in there again for about the millionth time. There we go. Just sit that somewhere up over there. Oh, hang on, falling out again. Right, let's just support that there. Yeah, so this part here, this bit goes into it, and there's a spring inside. As I push this, let's see the shape. Springy. Yeah, what I need to do, I think, is pull the cap off here completely and retension that spring. This is why it wasn't making a very definitive clicky as you swap it over, you know, toggle between the two positions. Let me try and do this without losing the spring. I guess the spring is in there, so let's just pull that out. This is going to be a bit of a nightmare. This tiny piece of metal, I think, has a spring in it. Yes, it does, I can see it. So, on the magnification, I now need to just get this outfit. I'll just move the lamp back a bit. Oh my god, that would be so easy to lose. There it is, it's out. Right, let me just see if I can show you this without dropping it. Can you see the spring? So all I'm going to do here is stretch it, basically, without letting go of it so it doesn't fly off somewhere. So I'm going to push my screwdriver somewhere to the end here just to grip it, and with the other hand just pull, like that. So, and you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm putting the spring back in. Right, oh, I nearly dropped it. Spring's still in there. And then I'm using that little piece here, yeah, this has got a little metal pin, you can't really see it, and just pushing it back in. That's it, that's really springy now. Now of course, when things get really springy, when you're reassembling it, if you just hold things at the wrong angle, it will fly off, never to be seen again. Now you see this feels it's a, hang on. Ah, there we go. And it's clicky. There you go, definitive click. So all I need to do now is, well, test it. What I wouldn't do is clamp it all, you know, just tighten the metal bits and make everything sure and secure. But let me test it. Because if it ain't switching, it's going to need to go back to bits again, isn't it? So let's see which ones are contacting here. It's the outer one, isn't it? Yeah, so middle to the outer, on the other side, middle to the outer. Yeah, so we can straighten the legs in a minute, but this is now the point where these little metal things here just need, you know, you need to pull the switch together. I'm sorry the lighting's terrible for the last time. And if we squeeze. Yeah, I think this is one of these one-time things. I think if you didn't get this right and I take it back to pieces again, you'd probably end up having to replace it. But anyway, switching really nicely. So of course our final thing here now is just to correct the bendy stuff that's been going on here. For good measure, we could just like crimp towards these two like that. This is easier said than done because, well, these aren't wide enough. I'll tell you what, let me just get the mole grips. What I'm trying to do is just crimp them both together a little bit. So if I just get it a little bit smaller, I can feel when I'm putting too much pressure. I'm not. Just a little bit like that. So left to centre, switch it over. Should be the opposite now, should be centre to right and centre right. So I'm onto the home stretch now, just cleaning up the solder points here. I've done the ones on the other side. It looks really good. So that is looking pretty good. So I need an ESD map for here. I haven't got one. One due any day now. Let's just connect the power saver here. Not sure that's on or off. Oh, it's on, look. Just switch it off in a second. Wow, that's interesting. We've got a black screen. Oh, there we go. Where's the colour? I think this was the NTSC one. Yeah, it was. Let me just adjust the little thing on there. Hang on, variable. Because you see, this board was an NTSC board, and all we did previously is just adjust this a little bit. And that is now having no effect, which is interesting. We can dial that in with the scope, but why is there no colour? Anyway, that is working. The initial power on issue was an extension of the original repair of this, actually. When it just gave me a black screen, it wasn't the switch, it was the power jack here. I measured, I had like 0.4 of a volt, and I unplugged plug a few times, still 0.4 volt. Contact cleaner in this the thing here, not the switch. And that solved it straight away. So, as we covered in that repair, I think this was pretty corroded. So that is the issue there. I mean, I can prove that. Switch it off and on a few times here. It's just to get that out. I really need a mat here. I'm going to ruin the surface on this desk. I mean, it's pretty stiff. I'll give it that. Switch it on, and yeah, straight up. So yeah. I haven't got the TV on the wall. I've got a small screen that's just arrived, and that'll be on an arm on the wall, so we can test this on there later, and that may display the NTSC colour properly. It's just a point to note with these 1084S, you know, the D2 is this, I think. One problem you can have is, it's just locked up out. You'd need to mod it to support NTSC. Just another quick test with a cartridge here, a separate cartridge. I think the joystick needs to be in port 1 actually. Yeah, there we go. I'm also just going to test the tape deck with Iridium in a sec. I know I've tested this before, but I thought, man, I may as well show you what you do here. Why can we not go? What the hell? Why is the joystick not working? Oh, sorry. Yeah, we had a bad connection on the joystick there. Anyway, that's working. Let's try the tape deck now. And if you're wondering, that was a homemade cart, simple 64 cart. I think that might have been Bowak, or Bowak may have sent me that. Anyway, yeah, that was another video. It's a bit bright, that, isn't it, on monochrome? I also need to do an adjustment to this mod, so if you put it on screen here you can see the flyback lines look. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but you don't notice that in any other mode. And obviously, when I was talking about the colour there, I'm talking about composite. So if you connect an NTSC system with RGB, there's no encoding going on. Yeah? So that works. Oh, I'm sure it's not plugged in, is it? Yeah, so RGB, you don't have a problem, and actually 99% of what I connect to this monitor is usually RGB. Of course, now I've messed with the dot clock, we do need to dial that back in again, I think, so I might do that next, actually. Yeah, so the final thing here is to bring in my trusty data set and connect that up. Shift, run stop, press play, it detects play, that's all good so far. That is ages, like 3 or 4 years I think since I loaded this from cassette, so be interested to see if it works. So we're getting near the end here now by the legendary Andrew Braybrook. Hey, it worked. So yeah, data set works as well on here. Anyway, that's a new screen I was telling you about, a little, I think it's like 19 or 17 inch for the wall. That has arrived. It's a Sony Bravia, I think. It's obviously an old model, but it's got SCART and composite stuff, so I might just try this on there. It'd be a good test for it. Yeah, and here's that Sony Bravia. So this is going to be wall mounted, not here, over the other desk I think. So I'll try and switch this on. Is there any batteries in there now? Ugh, blooming typical, I haven't got some batteries. You'd think the seller could have at least put me some batteries in. Let's try and power it on. Hey, it's coming on. So it's connected up by composite to this C64. Why is it on standby now? Why is the orange light on? Now the green light's on. No, now it's on. Yeah, it says power saving, so let's just switch this on. I don't know if it's intelligently going to... No, it's on HDMI 2, look, so let's press start. I don't know which one it is, AV1? Nope. AV2? Nope. AV3? Oh, hang on, there we go. So yeah, AV3. Wow, the picture is awful, isn't it? It is really, really, really awful. That is so fuzzy. But I just wanted to test it. We can always connect it up to the other TV. I can take it in there to the room system when we want to see what it really looks like. It's just a case of getting some yeah, video up. Now, interestingly, we've still got the same colour problem here, haven't we? Oh, we've got colour back there. That's from just adjusting that variable resistor there for the dot clock. Oh, it looks much better now. That's actually not bad. I'm assuming you might be able to change the aspect ratio here. I honestly do not know. I need to mess around with this. And there's an analog button there. What's that mean? Oh, that's actually analog TV, you know, like RF, etc. It's not got a digital tuner, this, I don't think. Hey, that's not bad actually. I'm pretty pleased with that. For a cheap sort of 40 quid monitor, that ain't half bad, is it? Let's just turn up a bit. Sweet. Is it that dodgy joystick again? Oh, it's in port 1, isn't it? It must be in port 2. It never gets old having to move that joystick around. Hey, that's really good. I'm really pleased with that. Of course, the real key is to test it with a number of different systems here. Anyway, at least I've got the colour back. It's a bit we can't display any info there because I am guessing that is NTSC, and this TV, with it being relatively good, is just happy enough to just, you know, work. So I mean, you could argue leave it on auto, but I might just do that. Just leave it on auto. It's a bit bigger, I guess. As you can see, I'm just doing a firmware, system update with the latest, I think, version for the Sony Bravia here. It's no longer supported on their website. Anything prior to 2022 or something, it's just no longer supported, which I think is terrible. Customer support, really. I can't imagine there'd be huge volumes of traffic on their website for things like that. They just want you to buy a new TV. Anyway, I managed to find it. So hopefully that will work. I'm just curious to see if this firmware update makes any difference to, what happens is I switch this on, sometimes the image is squashed at the top here when I'm using the standard definition source. It has got HDMI connection on this, obviously it's only 2720p. But yeah, that's all I need for testing stuff, so let's see what happens now. I just hope it doesn't get bricked. I'm not sure if it's finished the process. Is that, I can't remember, that means it's on. That's standby, is it, or is that power? Oh, hang on, it's back. There we go. Well, the good news is that worked straight away. What often happens, and it may do it again, let's just see. So the system's been updated. Switch it off. Often I'll switch it on and the image will be squashed up here. Certainly after, oh, it's not doing it now. That might have actually fixed it. The system has. Has it really? Nah, look, still did it. So yeah, I don't know what causes that. It's super annoying. I think I've seen other people with this problem on some of these Sony TVs. Yeah, anyway. Sometimes it's alright. So I got that board on the other bench here, and we now have the wall-mounted Sony Bravia there. It's a cheap second-hand display, and as you can see, the colour's correct. Now I just did that by eye, but then I thought I'd better scope the dot clock. So I think the best place to scope it is on this Ferrite down here, FP17. Could be wrong. And if I show you the scope, yeah. So scoping that, can you see up there? 7.88. It's absolutely spot on. I just did that by eye as soon as the colour came back. And I scoped at 7.88. That's correct for PAL. I can't remember what the clock speed is supposed to be for NTSC. I think it's divided by 8. The original crystal speed gets divided by 8. That can't be right actually, because the crystal's only 17 point something on here. So it isn't divided by 8. There is a divide by 8 somewhere there. But anyway, yeah, the key is the actual the steady frequency counter there. This one is variable, as I mentioned in the review of this. When I picked it up, but yeah, 7.88, that's spot on, so I'm happy with that. And it does look pretty good on that new display, actually. I'm pretty impressed with the quality of that. So another random thing I need to do in this video is fit a ZIF socket here. You may have seen this in a previous repair, actually. It's the one where the kernel was just like falling out. So seven faults on this board. But yeah, another bonus point here. Let me switch it off. Work extra. I got this tape free with the C16 tapes, and it wasn't working at all. And all I did is keep reloading it. In fact, I've got a problem now. Can you see the little spongy thing? The spongy thing has fallen off. And actually, it was the spongy thing that was the issue. So that makes me think it doesn't even need the spongy thing. Right, that took me ages to get that working again. Yeah, it was all about that sponge. I managed to get that little sponge thing back into position, but the reason it took ages, I had to keep micro adjusting, lifted it upwards so that it was totally flat and level and raised enough so that when you press the playhead in, it you know, presents the tape nice and flat to the azimuth. That is exactly what the issue was. So yeah, I'm very pleased this game works. Use this for testing. So yeah, if you've got a tape that you're struggling to load, you know, it's really intermittent, it loads 1 out of 10 times or just not at all, you want to do some of the things I'll show you in a sec. The first thing is, wherever you see a crease, you know, hold it like that, do that. I've shown that before, just not so hard you're going to snap it, just let your nails sort of just like bounce on the edge of the spindle like that while you're holding the other one, and you'll remove any kinks. The final thing I had to do here, it was making a squeaking noise just very lightly as it was going round, and that seemed to be, when that noise started, that's where it would fail to load. So the other thing, I got a tiny bit of Molykote, just made it sag like this down here. I'm going to do this sag here, just got a little bit of Molykote, a tiny little bit, and then pushed the spindle in like that and rotated it around. Did the same on this one. That squeaking completely stopped, and ever since then the problem stopped. But before that I couldn't even get it to detect the game, and it was this sponge here. So it needed, you know, bending forward, as I sort of explained earlier. There's a hair there, look, I'm going to try and get that off. Obviously when you're fiddling with the tape, try and, you know, fiddling with this here, get the clear part of the tape there. Don't mess with the sponge when the tape's there, because you need to pull this out with something in order to get to it. I'll rewind it and I'll show you. But the other thing is, obviously, I cleaned that sponge as well. It was like gone really hard, so I cleaned it with some IPA, and that seems to have solved it. So I'll just rewind that. I'll load it one more time. Yeah, so it's much quieter in general now, but if I take this out, I'll show you. You obviously need to lift the clear part here with something. Yeah, out, and then obviously you can access the sponge here. It's obviously wobbling about a bit now, the tape's not pulling into it. Yeah, but that's how you can clean it. And in terms of bending it, you can just get something under it and just lift it slightly. But you've got to be careful, because you saw I pulled it right out and it was really, really, really fiddly to get it to go back in. So yeah, let's just give that one more try. Before I lifted that sponge and cleaned it, I tried it a good 20 or so times, even retention in the tape, and I couldn't even get the this bit here, resistance. You can't quite see it because of the on-screen display there. And we'll clean the heads again after this, but I've cleaned them several times now. Yeah, look at the floor here now, the floor's properly structured. So next up on this random bits and pieces video here, Crazy Blaster. You can see this is from the Future Was 8-bit. It's a brand new cartridge from them. It's not a new game, this, but obviously it's a brand new cartridge, and it is new. Well, it's new to me. It's probably 2 or 3 years old, this now. But you can buy this from the Future Was 8-bit. The link will be down below. So this is my first time trying this. Actually, let's just carefully connect this up, and we'll switch it on. Now, bear in mind, I'm using a backsid here, so I'm not sure whether the sound is going to be perfect on this particular game. Let's just turn up a bit. So we've got like a little intro thing there, that's quite cool. I'm not sure I'm doing oops already. How's that oops? I'm really confused. It's like I feel like I haven't started the game, but this is actually the instructions, isn't it? Let's shoot the S on the end. Yeah. Wow, that was confusing. So it's a bit like that Space Taxi, isn't it? I think. Yes, it is. It's quite cool. We just land there, collect him, and then we take him back to base. That's not bad, this. Why can't I go up there? I am honestly not sure what I am doing. Run out of time. It's like, what's this thing over here? Do I have to shoot that? Yeah, you've only got 3 levels of thrust there, so you've got to watch your wait for your thrust to recharge. Why are those bullets bouncing like that? I presume we got a base, do we? No, we don't. Yes, we do. There we go. Yeah, so you have to destroy the enemy and save the little spaceman or whatever. That's actually really cool. Oh, and be careful, wait, your shots will come back. At least the gravity's not an issue in terms of like on Space Taxi where you can crash into things from landing too quickly. This is more forgiving, but I really like this. It's a really cool little game. So I'll post a screenshot of you know, the website link there, just so you can see how much it is. Now I'm assuming if we hit the red floor there, maybe we blow up. You want to shoot that? Nope. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, if you hit down here, you blow up. But anyway, that is really cool. So the next thing I'm going to do here is remove this ROM. I could literally just pull it like that. Look, it hardly stays in. And we're going to swap that for a ZIF socket. Right now, it's not sucking because it's sucking. So I'm going to use some hot air to free this socket up. This board has suffered some delamination in the past around this chip and this chip here, but nevertheless, yeah, because it's a turn pin, and I will struggle with it, and very likely pull a pad or trace off. I'm just going to preheat around the wider area. If it changes colour a little bit, it's not the end of the world. Right, I've got the dip extractor on the other side, by the way. I'm just pulling the socket. There we go, it's almost there. There we go. So yeah, the socket seems to have survived that, but the board is no worse for wear there, I don't think. It's maybe a bit light on that side, but remember it's had hot air there previously. Yeah, the socket is just marginally warped. Well, so far so well. Relocated the resistor and the transistor. I've got some heat shrink around those once we're done, and then shrink that. So the next thing, you've seen me do this before, is just use the dowel here, just to, hang on, I think it's solder there. Yeah, use the dowel to just widen these ever so slightly in order that the ZIF socket will actually go through. Got that aligned, and yeah, it's gone straight on, actually. So just making sure there's nothing to clash, there isn't. You're better off having to leave it upwards when you solder it, because it does bend these legs here a little bit. So it's surprising how little time that actually took. So I'll just check them all through. Yeah, when I did the ZIF64 link top left, the sockets on that were painful to do. This one just went straight on, more or less. Alright, I did the work with the dowel in advance, but far easier than the ZIF64 board was. Right, let's clean up with some cotton buds here. Yeah, that's not too bad at all. 2 pieces of heat shrink there, 150 degree hot air. Let's just shrink those down. All done. Obviously it's going to be raised up a little bit there when it's on a flat table. Might not be any better than a turn pin though. It feels like there's something sticking up here somewhere. Yeah, look, that's not even going to grip. Oh, God. Wasting my time here, aren't I? I'm not, because I think, you know what I might do? I might just solder that in there now, actually. Because that socket was a wee bit warped anyway. Why not? Let's just solder that in and then that will make a good connection. Technically what I should do is just use the braid on here as well, actually, afterwards. Just get rid of a bit of the solder and then, yeah. Let's do that. Right, so that's soldered in there. It feels like one of the most pointless things I've ever done, really, because, you know, we've fitted a ZIF socket and then the chip still doesn't fit in. Right, I should have waited for the clean-up, shouldn't I? Because I'm going to do these pins now. Anyway, all I am going to do is just, as I say, drag some braid, you know, hold it like sideways or something, stick it between some pliers, probably. That's what I usually do. You want a quick and easy free vice that just helps hold something. Do that. And then when you sort of put your hand on the actual pliers as you drag, you know, heat your braid, drag this way, it will hold it. Right, there we go. There's just one leg here, I think it just needs a wee straighten. Alright, that's all done and nice and clean. It should now make a good fit here, I think. Yeah, there we go. Let's give that a try. And there we go, working perfectly. So I know it's pretty disjointed, lots of little bits and pieces. If you liked the style of this, just having bits and pieces, let me know. I'm sure people probably prefer to see a more substantial repair or something, you know, focused on one thing. But yeah, all of these things have been building up and I just like stuck them all into one folder and thought now was a good time to push those out whilst we wait for some parts and stuff. But yeah, there should be another video probably tomorrow. So please like, share, subscribe. If you'd like to support the channel, please see the Ko-fi and Patreon links. You can join as a YouTube member or you can buy some merch. Every level of support just keeps the channel going and growing. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video.